Welcome back to the ATG Talk Show. I am your host, Ghost Pepper, and today we have a special guest, Mr. Dad Wagon. What's your Instagram handle?
I think it's dad_WGN
Wagon?
or it's dad DADWGN_AR because it's an all road.
Super confusing, but I hope y'all get it. Go follow him on Instagram. This is my buddy Nickerson. And we're going to be talking today about some of the most recent events that have been happening. Yeah, I mean, it's not a great thing to start this out on Memorial Day. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who has given the ultimate price to allow us to do what we're doing today, to be in a free country. We appreciate everybody that served, that has given their lives for this country and for our freedoms.
Yeah, support your vets.
Yeah, we want to definitely start off with that. But here in the news recently, we've had a school shooting here in Texas. Not happy about it, obviously. No. It's a very touchy subject with the two political spectrums, right? So you have the one side that says, hey, we need to completely ban guns, and if we ban guns, then this wouldn't be happening. And then you have the other side that says, hey, banning guns is not actually going to do anything. So where do you fall on this this spectrum?
As far as the banning the guns, I'm sorry, I just feel like no matter what you do, you're never going to get rid of them. No matter what you do, there's always going to be somebody on the street that's going to have something to sell.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, like, criminals are always going to find ways around laws. That's why they're criminals, right?
Right.
So banning guns is not going to actually solve any of the mass shooting issues that we're having at this point. At most, what it's going to do is prevent people from being able to defend themselves, in my mind. That's what's going to happen.
Right. And it's... everyone's got their own opinion about it, though. That's the thing. They're always like, "Oh, well, guns kill people." The person behind that gun or that was holding that gun that did whatever they did. Besides the fact of the school shooting, it's whoever's in control of that gun was the person that did what they did. But it's just like your phone's not going to make a call, right? Unless you physically hold the phone and press the dial button.
Right. So a gun at that point, it becomes more, and the way that I've always seen guns is that they're a tool.
Oh, yeah.
Right. They're a tool to achieve some sort of end, whether it be you're going out to use it for hunting or you're going out to use it for self-defense, whatever it may be that you're using. You're using it as a tool. It's not an instrument that has a mind of its own that's going to go out and do something for a ill-begotten purpose, right? Which is what the media and the Democrats are trying to point it out as, is that it's, hey, this is a object that's supposed to kill. Like that was never the intention of a gun. It's not the intention of a gun is not to kill people. It's to be able to either protect or to, in the instance of like hunting and stuff, like to provide meals for your family, right? That's what the intention of a gun is.
Well, and then you have the other person that's like, oh, you don't need to kill, or you don't need a gun to kill an animal, right? Because there's bow season, right? For all the hunter guys out there and whatnot. But it's, I mean,
do you know how hard it is to kill an animal with a bow? Like, just... I don't know if you've ever looked at like deer hunting videos. Like those people that hunt with bows, they're like sitting up there for like hours, like waiting.
So my stepdad, which he's my dad, so he's a really good hunter, and he does rifle, he does bow, and he always tells me, he's like, patience. That's where it's at, and he's like, I'll be sitting there for hours, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just waiting, and with the gun, I feel like you can respond faster, right, if you miss your shot. But either way, like as soon as you miss your shot, regardless bow or gun, it's like
the deer's out of there.
Deer, bear, whatever the hell you're trying to get, they're gone.
Yeah.
But like the bow that's a lot of that's a higher skill level,
right? Well, it's more, you have to be very much more precise with a bow. I feel like, and I've never actually been deer hunting. That's one thing that I do intend on doing this year. Is I plan on going out and actually doing some deer hunting. But I feel like with a bow, like there's so much more margin for error. Like if you miss at all, like there's no like quick reset and try for it again or anything like that. Like it's just one and done.
And all the brush in between too, like the branches and whatever else is in your point of view of where your target's at. That is going to cause that bow to just ricochet off of what versus a bullet's just going to fucking blow through that damn thing.
Yeah.
Or should at least.
But with the whole, like, I get what people are trying to accomplish with, they're saying, hey, if we got rid of guns, like in a perfect world, if all guns were gone, there wouldn't be any of these mass shootings.
For sure.
But we're not in a perfect world. We're in an area, and especially with the way that this new administration is handling like the border and everything like that, like guns are pouring into this country, like illegally. Guns illegally are pouring into this country. Let me be clear. So taking them away from law-abiding citizens who are already not breaking the laws in any way, that's not going to do anything. Like, no. And I get like with this shooter that he went out and he purchased a gun, right, legally. And then he purchased another gun, like within like a span of a couple days. And they're saying, oh, well, there should have been some flag on that and everything like that. Well, people, like, depending on what you're looking for, like if you're one of those people that you're in a position that all of a sudden you can get access to the guns, you may want a handgun, you may want a rifle, you may want a shotgun. Yeah. Like it shouldn't be stipulated on whether or not you are buying them in quick succession of each other. Now there should be also, obviously we have background checks and stuff like that. Right. But I mean, this guy was posting stuff online, saying what he was going to do. Where was the FBI at that point? Saying, hey, we're going to step in and do it. I mean, they're all about getting on these January 6th rioters at this point. But they're not going to sit there and look at the people that are actually making real threats to our kids. Yeah. I mean, what's that about?
Yeah, I made a comment the other day. Like, I always joke around with my sister, and we may not have the best way of joking around, right? But Facebook sees it as being flagged. I was like, oh, if someone did that, I would throat punch them, right? Yeah. And I immediately got banned, like within minutes. I'm like, really? Are you freaking kidding me? Like, but if someone posts, like, oh, well, these are my guns, or this is what I plan to do, like, we're not going to acknowledge that, or is social media playing a game? Like, we're all on account for it. Like, we know what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, we already know that social media is like skewed heavily to one side. So
clearly,
I mean, there's really mean tweets. Trump 2022 or 2024. You got to get that right. God. We're already in 2022. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, no shit.
So if we were going to look at this from a logical standpoint, right, and say, what would be the best course moving forward for us to handle gun violence in specifically schools, what would you suggest? Because I have my own thoughts on what we could do that would at least help deter / eliminate people like this person that came in that was over the age of the school age, right? Coming in to the school. He had no reason to be there.
No.
So
that was a red flag right there.
I mean, first of all, armed security, right? We pay enough in taxes in this country, and our teachers get paid shit. Like, that's just straight up facts. Yeah. Like, they don't get paid nearly enough for what they do. There's no incentive for them to, for like lack of a better word, take the bullet. I know it's like that's a fucked up thing, but there's no reason for them to take a bullet for these kids because they're getting paid shit for it. So security in our schools, first of all, would be very helpful. Armed security, if nothing else, right? You put metal detectors, do something that would prevent people like this from coming in the first place. There's always that chance that, one of the kids that are actually at the school, that are in the school, they could come in. But, you start putting metal detectors in and stuff like that, and that's going to help prevent that kind of stuff.
Right.
The second thing is mental health evaluations. I mean, you start seeing a kid that's struggling, and in public schools nowadays, it's so brutal for kids. Like, it's absolutely brutal for kids. And that's one of the reasons why I don't put my kids in public school. And my kids have been asking, like, oh, it'd be really cool to go to public school. I'm like, I would love for y'all to have that experience, but it's just not worth it at this point. And not everybody is in a position that they can do that. So actually giving a crap about, what is going on in our schools, how our kids are, acclimating to society is very, very important. And I don't feel like enough people care about that at this point in age,
Yeah. A lot of people are saying, like, well, ask me the same thing, like, what would you do? And it kind of sucks because the way I see it, it's like for me to feel safe for my kids to go to school, it's almost like you would have to make it seem like it's a damn prison.
Yeah.
Metal detectors, armed guards, and that's unfortunate because that used to never be an issue. And I feel like because the way social media pushes these things now, like, yeah, okay, thanks for letting me know that this happened, but it's almost like it's just molded into our minds now, like, because it's a gun-free zone.
Yeah.
It's open. It's open for me to enjoy. Like, this sick, twisted person that's going in there. Like, nothing's going to happen to me.
For lack of a better word, it's open season.
Yeah.
In those areas. And that's the thing that people need to understand too, that I don't think a lot of people understand, is that most of these mass shootings that occur, they happen in gun-free zones.
Exactly.
So for everybody to say, oh, it's the gun laws and they're not being strict enough, they're already in gun-free zones. Like, you're already not allowed to bring guns into these areas. There's already laws against it. So that's not, having it illegal is not doing anything. No. So if you actually arm the people that are important, like, I guarantee you that when you're talking about criminals, right? When criminals are looking to see who they're going to victimize, whether it be robbery, whether it be, arson, whether it be, murder, whatever the crime is, when they're looking for victimization, right? They're going to look for the path of least resistance. Right? So if you have somebody that's looking to commit heinous crimes, where they're looking to commit murder, they're going to do it in a spot where they're not likely to have any sort of repercussions in the immediate sense. Like, there will obviously be, repercussions in the long term, like they'll go to either jail or whatnot. But if there's not a threat of them being killed at that point, then that's going to be a place that they're going to want to go, as opposed to, say, they're not going to go to a courthouse, right? They're not going to go to a courthouse and start shooting up people because there's armed guards there, right? There's police officers there. That shit's going to be
pretty
immediately shut down. Like, they might get a few shots off, but there's going to be somebody there to immediately respond that's going to stop them, as opposed to these gun-free zones where there's a response time. And you look at these cops, and I saw a lot of articles where, cops were going in and, rescuing their kids first and stuff like that. Like, I don't know how much there is to that. Like, I haven't done enough research on that, to be honest. But, I mean, yeah, it's a scary thing. I mean, you're talking about a community, and in the community, the cops in the community are obviously from that community. So their kids are going to be at those schools. So I don't know personally how I would respond if I was in a public service, like job, like a police officer. If I knew there was an active shooter in a school and my kids were there, right? I don't know how I would respond, whether or not I would go in and do what is being claimed was done, where I would just go in for my kids first and then figure out what's going on after. Or if I would actually, and then that's a very hard, mental, philosophical question, is like,
because we're thinking of it as past tense, right? We're thinking of what we would have done after we've already seen what happened.
Right.
Because my immediate thought would be not more so like, yeah, my first thought, right, is my daughter okay? Or son, whatever it is, because I have 4 kids, so I don't, depending on what school it is, unfortunately. And my immediate thought would be, I hope to God my kids are okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would ever cross my mind to make sure I got my own child out of there before somebody else's.
Yeah.
I don't think that's possible in my head. It's more of eliminating the cause of what's happening.
Yeah.
Eliminate the shooter.
Yeah.
Like just immediately, like whatever it is, I can't even imagine what the parents were going through, seeing the cops put a barricade or whatever the hell it was outside of the school and not doing anything about it. Like, you have multiple officers. You're apparently supposed to be trained for these situations, right? What the hell are you doing outside of the school and not just bombarding those doors and trying to do what you can to save? Because to be quite frank, that guy could have eliminated almost damn near the entire school if he wanted to.
Yeah.
For how long it took for them to get in the
It was something like,
school?
I think it was 90 minutes or something like that. I think it was
like what
hour and a half.
Fuck?
It took them
I know that
from the first call they got to actually controlling the situation. I think it took them 90 minutes. So now that comes down to a question of, are we doing enough? You can say all this about the guns and that's the problem, but at the end of the day, all these people that want the guns gone, all these Democrats that want the guns gone, at the end of the day, what you're relying on is the same thing that took 90 minutes to respond. That took 90 minutes to control the situation.
To eliminate the situation.
How
else are you going to kill a shooter?
You're relying on the police officers with guns to come in and be your savior. Right? Which the Second Amendment gave you the control, gave you the responsibility to be the protector of your family, of your community, of your country. That's what the Second Amendment does. Is it allows you to be in control of those situations. When you hand over control to people who may not have the best intentions, who may not share the same viewpoints as you do, that's where shit goes wrong, right? So, all these people that are saying, the guns are the problem, and if we just got rid of all the guns, well, when somebody does get a gun illegally, which will happen, it happens everywhere, even in these gun-free zones, gun-free countries, whatever. It happens. When somebody comes in with a gun, who do you want to respond? You want the people with the guns to respond? Yeah. And if so, do you want those people that responded, took them 90 minutes to respond, do you want those people to respond? I mean, I've seen article after article. I can't tell you how many times. And there's a statistic that's like something like I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's something like, let's just say a number like 20 for every 20,000 shootings there's like almost 1 million self-defensive uses of firearms in this country. Just something crazy. It's something crazy like that. I don't know if that number is accurate, but like I said, so do you want somebody that may not have the constitution that say you would in going into that situation to respond to the situation? Or do you trust yourself more to respond to the situation? Because if the answer is you trust yourself more, then you're pro Second Amendment. You're pro us having firearms. And if you honestly look at and honestly ask yourself the question as to whether or not you would trust somebody else with your life, and the answer is yes, I think you would need to look a little bit harder, because I don't know anybody that would trust somebody else over themselves more with their lives. That would baffle me if somebody answered that way.
Yeah, you have those people that are so anti-gun. They're just, what can you do? You can tell them no?
Yeah.
Don't do this? yeah, that's gonna clearly freaking work.
But see, I feel like the problem was with the people that are anti-gun, and if you don't want to buy a gun, that's great. That's your constitutional right.
Yep.
You don't have to buy a gun.
You don't need
But I
it, you
feel
don't want
like the people that actually don't like firearms, that don't like guns, I feel like they're very misinformed as to what a firearm actually is. Like, I feel like they're people, like almost 90% of the time, that have never actually taken the time to even fire a gun.
or even go through the training classes.
Go
of
through
learning how to operate a firearm.
Go through the training, go through any sort of the history as to why we even have guns in the first place. Because, I mean, if you go out on the street, right, and you ask any, high school graduate, right, why do we have a Second Amendment? What do you think the number one answer to that question would be?
Why we have the Second Amendment?
Why we have the Second Amendment?
Well, half of them probably don't even know what the hell that even is.
Right. Probably not.
But if you tell them it was what it was for, they probably just, I would say maybe, you would hope they say maybe just for defense.
Right. Or defense is a good one, right? But in more, like, if you actually go down to the roots as to why we have a Second Amendment, right? It's not just for defending yourself. It's not for just defending your property, right? Which those are very important things to be able to do. But it's being able to protect yourself from a tyrannical government, right? And a lot of people will say, "Oh,
That's
well,
what we're about to get."
huh?
Oh,
Okay. Huh? What? A tyrannical government.
Yeah.
But and a lot of people will go back and say, well, there's no chance that would ever happen in the United States, right? There's no chance that tyrannical. I mean, we're too established in our democracy, and we're too established in the way that we run things that there would never be a tyrannical overthrow of our government. And those same people, and it's been a little while, but those same people will sit there and say, well, all Ukrainians need an automatic rifle to help defend themselves from Russia. I'm just sitting there scratching my head like, so y'all are for the Second Amendment or what? Like,
Yeah.
What's up, dude?
Yeah.
Like, because it's not just tyrannical government, foreign. It's also foreign and domestic. Like, there's no telling what's going to happen in the future. And if you start de-arming your populace now, right? Like, say if we were to go through and we were to say, hey, we're going to get rid of all firearms and everything like that. Who's stopping, Canada from invading us? Even though, probably not. But or Mexico or any other government, who's stopping them from coming in and saying, okay, yeah, we're just going to take over? Our military?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, who has the power? The person that's holding the gun.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, it's flat out.
It's been like that from the dawn of civilization. Every civilization that has ever existed, and everybody likes to throw America under the bus like, oh, we're the worst because, we came in and destroyed indigenous people and we took this land for ourselves. I'm sorry, but from the dawn of civilization.
Does that feel
I thought I fixed that. God dang it. Hang on.
balls deep?
No, you're good.
It's like a timer.
Yeah, I got to figure out why it keeps doing that. I thought I fixed it. But from the dawn of civilization, any superpower, any sort of expansion that has ever taken place has been through conquest. And I do not understand for the life of me why America is singled out. Because, you look at Europe, you look at Rome, you go further back, you look at, all these tribes in Africa. Even during during America's starting, there were tribes in America, Indian tribes, that were fighting each other. It was all through conquest. They were fighting for land. So why are we the evil ones for coming in and saying, hey, we want to take this over? Just because we weren't there first? Well, the person that was there supposedly first wasn't there first, guarantee you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I don't understand, for the life of me, why people get so hung up on this. But my point is that, you know, any government, anything that happens is always done by force. So the founding fathers, in their infinite wisdom, had enough sense to arm the populace to where they wouldn't be subject to any sort of other government that comes in, even their own, to take them over. They always had a choice to be able to fight. And that is what the Second Amendment is for. And yes, you know, to all the people that are like, oh, well, the founding fathers never intended for people to have AR-15s or automatic weapons. Yeah, they did. They intended for us to be able to handle any sort of military excursion that happens. So whether that be from a foreign power or our own power, they intended us to be able to match and to fight them. So if our military has automatic weapons, I believe every American should be able to have automatic weapons. I don't think it should be because of the capacity or because of the fire rate or anything like that. It's for defense of the country and for what you hold dear to you. And that's just, and that's where I stand on it. So I don't know if you feel the same way.
I'm on board with that, but I get the thought process too of other people that are not familiar with firearms or anything of that nature. You give someone any type of handgun, rifle, whatever type of firearm it is, and it makes them uneasy, it makes them scared. I would be scared shitless with countless people I know if they had a firearm there in their hand.
Yeah.
Like if I was relying on them to take care of me or to protect me, I would be scared shitless. Not gonna lie. I'd be like, yeah. Oh my God. Like,
so, but at the same time, that comes down to a lack of education about things, right? Because I mean, if you really sat there and thought about it, right, a firearm is really no more dangerous than a 1-ton vehicle that you have driving down at 70 miles an hour down the street, right? You could do a lot more damage with a car, drive it into a crowd of people, do a lot of different things with a car, right? But the difference is that from a very early age, we're trained how to use these things, how to use these tools. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you can go online. There's parents that have their kids within the ages of 5 to 6 that can handle a firearm like no other.
Oh yeah,
super. You know, like just they know how to handle a situation. They know how to load the gun. They know how to be respectful of the gun as far as making sure that the safety's on. It's wild. And again, it's all about research. And are you going to be on board with it and understand how to utilize this piece of equipment? Or are you just going to be freaking like, oh, no guns?
Yeah.
No.
And again, it's really what it boils down to is that it's been, a gun has been demonized in a way. And to people thinking that it's just this killing thing, right? Its only purpose is to kill, right? People haven't been trained, and people don't train their kids, you know, on this is actually a tool. Just as if a hammer, just as if a screwdriver, it is a tool to be able to do a certain thing with it. Whether it be to defend yourself, whether it be to defend other people. And, you know, just like anything else, a tool can be used in evil ways, right? If I went out and started bashing people in the head with a hammer, is that because the hammer is evil? Or is it because I don't know how to use the tool correctly?
If you don't mind, can we go to the kid? Is it Kyle Rittenhouse? I believe his name?
Yep.
The trigger discipline on that kid.
Oh, yeah.
Was insane.
absolutely insane.
You put yourself in that situation and you have that type of equipment in your hand and you're not going to want to spray.
Yeah.
Just like
you
everywhere.
You put any sort of veteran in that similar situation, and I guarantee you they would not have the same. I mean, some of them would, granted, but I guarantee you a lot of them would not have that same trigger discipline that he did.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he only shot 3 people. Three people. Sorry. The fact that he only shot 3 people, and he shot them in such a way as to not hit bystanders.
Mm-hmm.
He shot them in a way as to incapacitate the threat.
Yeah.
Completely impressive. And I think just from that trial alone, I mean, you see that obviously he was in the right. Right? He was acquitted of all charges.
Some people still say he was...
Right. And I mean, some people still say he was a racist that was going out there and shooting, but he only shot white people. Like, I mean, let's be real. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, the 3 people that he shot, they were all white people.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't going out there shooting African Americans. He wasn't going out there shooting Chinese people. Like, he wasn't shooting Mexicans. Like, he shot 3 white people.
Yeah,
so to label him as a racist
and
because it was at a Black Lives Matter, like, riot or whatever.
And then given the fact of the people that he did shoot, look at their backgrounds as well.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's just take out the
One
clutter.
of them
There
was
you go. You're
going
welcome.
at him with a skateboard. Going to bash his head in with a skateboard.
Yeah, I don't care who you are. If you're coming in with the skateboard, you're dead. I don't give a shit.
Right.
That could be used as a deadly weapon. I could kill you with the skateboard. I'm going to kill you with the gun. I don't give a shit.
And again, because people misunderstand firearms so much, a lot of people see that as, oh, you know, he was just coming at him with a skateboard, so, you know, he shouldn't have used a gun to incapacitate him. I'm like, as soon as that dude started swinging a skateboard at him, he forfeited his life his right to live.
It's like when someone enters your house, you're supposed to wait for them to act a crime before you fucking shoot them.
There are states that yes, that's the case. And again, and luckily we live in Texas where if you break into somebody's house, the moment you break into somebody's house, you forfeit your right to live.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, well, is your stuff really more important than another person's right or another person's life? And I'm like, well, is your life more or less important than my stuff? Like, obviously, you're making a decision when you break into my house, right?
Yeah.
You're saying that you care less about your life than you do my stuff. You want my stuff more than you want to live.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. You break into my house, you get shot.
I mean, how much are we going to just protect fucking criminals at this point?
It's really sad.
I
do not understand it either. Like it's really hard.
Like they could sue you if they broke into your house and hurt themselves.
There was that case. I don't remember what state it was.
He broke his leg or some shit
from
like that,
falling
right?
from the sunroof, or whatnot.
Yeah.
He was breaking in and he fell from the sunroof, landed
me,
on
dude.
like a knife or something like that, cut himself, and he sued him.
He's like, I'm gonna sue you. Like,
he
never mind.
won.
Case done.
That's the thing is he won.
Yeah,
it's like how do you win that?
You're in the fucking wrong, and you could have possibly fucking killed her. Yeah, okay, you would have stole my shit, maybe not killed me. I don't fucking know.
That's the way, and you know, I get it. Like, I don't care about any of my things. Like,
yeah, take my shit. I don't give a fuck.
Like, I don't care about any of my stuff more than I care about human life. Right? Human life is sacred. But if you decide that my stuff is more important than your life, I don't care about your life. Like, that's just the sad truth. Is like, obviously, you've gotten to a point where you don't care about your well-being, and you think it's more important for you to take other stuff from me or from other people than to take care of yourself. So at that point, I don't care. You stop caring. Why should I care if you stop caring? And I know that's not the Christian thing to do. Like, I get it. Like, I'm trying. I'm trying really hard to understand that and to be more open in that respect. But at the same point, I'm like, you have to defend your family. You have to defend yourself. Otherwise, it's just anarchy. right? If we don't have laws, if we don't have law and order, if we don't have people that, you know, care about upholding what is true and what is right, then all society breaks down. And that's where I see it. And that's what I think a lot of this is happening, is that I think society and as a whole is breaking down. And that's why we're having this influx of sort of, quote, mass shootings in schools, this mass influx of shootings in other places, is because society has been driven so far into the ground, morality and what is right and what is wrong has been driven into the ground, that people don't understand anymore what, you know, constitutes a human life, what constitutes right and wrong. So it's just like, it's a crapshoot at this point, you know?
Yeah. Like I get we all fall in hard times and we're going to do what it's going to take to make ends meet. But I'm sorry. The way I've been raised, no matter what, and what I've known to believe is as soon as you enter someone's property, especially a house, it's fair game.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like if I can eliminate the situation of you harming my family or me, I would much rather take out a kneecap or whatever it is than end your life. You know, possibly give you a second chance, but
but there's no guarantee.
Yeah, there's no guaranteed.
So, and that's what everybody, especially like with what was it? Oh, it was one of those shootings over the summer of 2020.
But sad how we say it like that, right? One of those shootings, like fuck. Dude,
well, there's so many fucking shootings now over 2020. But it was the one specifically, and I forgot the name of the guy. But it was the guy that went and he was going for a knife.
Oh yeah, we talked about this, and you and me were actually like really getting into it, like bickering, because I was like, he had his back turned,
right,
and this and that, and you're like, oh no, I don't care, he's reaching for something. I'm like, dude, he had his back turned,
right. But
I think that was part of that conversation.
It was the one, and we were kind of like, we were kind of on the same page, but we were like opposite of how the cops should have handled it, right? But I mean, you look at that, and as soon as he started reaching, right, for, you know, whatever it may be, as soon as he started defying what the cops were telling him to do, in my mind, that guy forfeited his life to live. Right, it's the same thing, and I know that sounds harsh.
Yeah, I sigh because it's like, you know, you try to give the person the benefit of a doubt,
right? And you want to, right?
Yeah,
you don't want things to come to that. Mm-mm. But as soon as, I mean, it becomes a choice between, is he actually going to do something? Is he possibly reaching for something that is going to be detrimental to me, whether it be a gun, whether it be a knife, whatever it may be? Or is he just insane and not listening to my orders, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as he made the decision to not listen to the orders the cops were giving him, in my mind, it's the same as if somebody broke into your house and you say, hey, get off my property, and they don't listen, right? That person forfeits their right to live, right? And the cops then have to make a decision, and they said, oh, well, they could have shot his knees or something like that. And I challenge anybody that says that to actually put yourself in a training course where it is actually like they put you through high stress to try to see how you handle those situations and see how well you shoot.
Yeah, because everyone could say how they would address the situation after.
Hindsight 2020. Oh yeah, I would have shot him in the knees. Yeah. Dude, do you know how hard it is to shoot a knees versus
a moving target
versus shooting a torso? A torso is a lot bigger target.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you go through these training classes and stuff like that, they always teach you, shoot for center mass.
Yeah.
Center mass is where you're going to stop them. If you hit something else, great. If you don't, you know, whatever. You shoot for center mass.
Get hollow
because
point too.
there's Yeah, because there's no other way. I mean, unless you're like James Bond or freaking Jason Bourne, like, Hollywood, actor, whatnot.
No, who's the other
there's
one, man? Keanu Reeves. Fuck, what's his movies, dude?
John
Wick. Yeah,
John Wick.
Cold
Yeah.
as ice. But he, like he's actually trained,
Right.
in training sessions like that to actually compete and understand how to use a weapon and like
So
tactical.
I'm curious. Have you ever gone out and tried to shoot a moving target?
It's hard as shit,
It's hard as shit.
especially with the pistol, right?
It's very hard.
But
shotgun, it's great. It's not hard.
right?
You can do a
But,
shotgun all day.
And it all depends on the situation. Like you have depending on your house. If you have a long hallway, like that pistol is more likely not going to be good for you because you could possibly pierce through the drywall, and go into another room, and then you're going to potentially risk.
That's why I always suggest shotguns for home defense.
Most definitely. But again, you're kind of risking letting them get close to you, right? You get a buckshot, or are you going to get a
My
slug?
shotgun holds 7 rounds, so I don't know.
It's and again, like that's where I feel like when I have an AR, I feel like I'm in more control.
Yeah.
I have the distance, I have the accuracy. I feel like versus, pistol. I'm okay with the pistol, but
Yeah. But again,
Practice more.
you go back to like shooting a moving target in non-stressful situations is already hard enough.
yeah,
It's super hard.
versus
So
the adrenaline
to
rush.
put you into a situation where, and when you're talking about like even like skeet shooting, right? When you go
That's
out
hard
skeet
too.
shooting, it's hard, but you're anticipating already.
You already know where it's gonna be coming
You already
from.
know where it's going to be going. You know where it's going to be coming from, right? So there's that anticipation. You can kind of dial in. Oh, okay, so it's going to be in that area. You shoot it. You have no idea what a person's going to do. You have no idea how they're going to move. Have no idea where they're going to come from. So to try to anticipate these, and people say, oh, well, they should have shot the legs and shot the arms and blah, blah. Screw that.
Yeah, I mean, you're just you need to eliminate the situation.
Like in any sense,
unfortunately.
self-defense situation, you shoot center mass. And that's just, I mean, I'm sorry, that's the way it is.
That's what's crazy too. It's like you have people still to this day that will break into a house even without a gun themselves and still expect to be a-okay. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna fucking break in here, steal some shit, and I'm out.
Yeah.
What?
Well, and that's the thing too, is like,
Especially in Texas.
come
on, man.
There's a lot of research being done. We'll just put it that way, as to the amount of gun violence that actually happens in states where we have more lax gun control versus states that we have would say very strict gun control. And in those states that have the strictest gun control, gun violence is generally higher. I mean, you look at Chicago, you look at New York right now.
Shit blew up crazy.
Like, it might not be these quote mass shootings, and what they define as mass shootings is anything of I think 3 or 4, three or more people involved. So, but I mean, almost every weekend in Chicago, you have gang violence that people shooting people. At least 1-2 people die, but it's not talked about. It's not talked about until it becomes 3 or more. When it becomes a school shooting, when it becomes a movie theater, or whatever, a Walmart. It's not talked about unless there's a political agenda behind it.
Yeah, and again, it's a gun-free zone.
All
that this
gun-free
is happening
zones.
in.
All gun-free zones.
There was actually one that finally came up. There was a guy that was trying to steal a gun from a concealed handgun class. Did you see that one?
I think I remember seeing that. Yeah.
It's like every guy coming out there were just waiting, and once they saw the risk come, to effect, he was out.
Yeah.
Like, again, like that just shows you the discipline that you should have and reasons why you should take classes to understand how to assess the situation rather than just freaking go all out. Like, they could have eliminated him right there on the spot if they wanted to, because he's reaching for it.
Yeah.
And as soon as he just starts freaking the hell out, what did he do? He pull out a knife or something, or a
It was
screwdriver?
something. It was something weird. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like swinging. Like, yeah, of course. Then take action.
Yeah.
But you had multiple people rush outside, right?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
fucking
and you know,
wild. Like I'm saying that as far as like, okay, yeah, you're still gonna have people that are that stupid to act on something like that. But again, I feel more comfortable being in areas that are not gun free because someone else is gonna have some common sense and have my six.
yeah.
You know, they're gonna be able to be there and protect me if I'm not carrying it. And that's another thing I honestly cannot fucking stand about working where we work. I can't carry. I can't bring into where we go, and I can't have it with me when I leave because there are just batshit crazy people.
Yeah, which
All the time.
You know, I kind of go back and forth on that aspect.
About carrying when you drive?
Well, not carrying when I drive, but specifically where we work, not being able to carry where we work, right? Because I get why that's the case,
Right,
over there, right? But at the same point, you know, you drive through those gates. The security guards that are there that are supposed to be, quote, protecting us
Yeah.
from anything bad getting in or out, you know?
I mean, let's be honest. How many times could we have just
under
the radar
very
every fucking
easily.
day?
Very
Every
easily.
day.
Very easily.
Yeah, if we're gonna be blunt, it's every day I can go in there with a piece.
Yeah. So, and again, that goes down to, you know, you're paying a security guard, what, $15,
If
$18 an hour at the most, right? To put themselves in a situation where they might have to react to something. Nobody wants that. I mean, let's be honest. There's nobody that's going to, even with the school shootings, right? Like, if we were to pay a security guard to be there at the schools, it's going to have to be more than a security guard, right? Because no security guard is going to put themselves in risk of bodily harm to protect kids at $15 an hour. It's not worth it to them, right? So it's going to have to be more of an incentive. Like, and I saw one thing that was like, hey, you know, we got all these vets that are homeless, that are struggling, pay them.
But are their minds in the right state though?
Right,
too,
which
'Cause
that
they've
comes
gone
down
through
to it.
some shit.
Yeah, you got to obviously have a mental evaluation and everything like that. But I mean, that's a job that, you know, some of these vets that, you know, and I've met, you know, tons of vets that would be perfectly fine, that still struggle to find work sometimes. They would be perfectly good for something like that. And they have the training, and you already know that they would jump in front of a bullet for these kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's been enough times where something's been published about a vet or even some elderly guy that probably would even have any what's the fucking word I'm looking for? Military background. You know, he's just a good old boy that grew up around firearms, and he eliminated a situation.
Yeah.
It's all about your upbringing. I feel like if I was to grow up, I guarantee if I grew up in a home where my parents are like, guns are bad, it's gonna be based on me whether or not to figure that out for myself, if it's true or not.
Well, and that's the weird thing too, is because, like, and I don't know your specific situation. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on it. But like, when I was growing up, we didn't have any guns. From day one of being born to over 18 years old, after I left the house, never had a gun in the house. I mean, I was taught about guns. I had shotguns when I went out to Boy Scouts and do stuff like without them. When I go out to my friend's house, we'd shoot guns. But I was never... And I was never raised in a household that either glorified or talked about or used guns on any sort of frequent basis. So my exposure to guns was all after I turned 18, after I had purchased my first gun, and after I started training myself on them. So I don't know how it was with you, but even though I never grew up with guns, I never feared guns. Like guns weren't because I knew what they were for, right? I was always taught that this is what they're for. We just don't have them, blah blah blah. So I knew what they were for. I knew what they could do. So like I don't know what your experience was. Did you grow up in a household with guns or?
Oh yeah, yeah. My whole family's all military based.
Okay.
I was actually the first generation, unfortunately, that did not carry that on.
Mm-hmm.
I did try, but unfortunately, due to my badassery back in the day, spin a license, they wouldn't accept me. They wouldn't accept me with a spin license, so I didn't get to join. But I mean, I did sign up, and I wanted to go. But yeah, I grew up around firearms. Hell, my dad had me out there when I was like 4 or 5 years old, out on the camp, the base camp, and we were just freaking shooting rounds, Like, but again, it's just structure and understanding how to operate a gun. I mean, I'm 5 to 6 years old. I have a freaking submachine gun in my hand.
Yeah.
And granted, my dad's behind me making sure I'm doing what I'm doing. But like, some parents, get distracted. Maybe look away. I could turn that bastard right around real quick. Start lighting up the guy next to me if I wanted to. But I mean, I just have more of a respect for it because I grew up in a household like that. And even my stepdad, he's a hunter. He taught me a lot too about guns and how to respect them and how to use them when need be and whatnot. And I wouldn't say I'm trigger happy, but I will be in depending on the situation. Yeah, I'm freaking go off on it.
See, that's interesting because like in my earlier days, probably when I was like 18, 19 years old, I did go through a little bit of a phase where I was like, yeah, why do you need guns? Like, I was totally on board with the current narrative where I was like, oh, if there's a buyback, yeah, I would give my guns back. Like, there's no reason for us to have them. Like I went through that stage, and like I went through a stage where I was a lot more liberal than I am currently.
Out. This is your house, but I'm telling you, get out.
And I don't know. I don't remember the exact time that I started realizing, hey, there was like a switch that went off with me, and it was right around 2016. It was right around that election time, right? It was right around when Trump came into office, and probably for a good 6-7 months after Trump was elected, I was like, oh yeah, this guy's like an idiot. He needs to be impeached. Like I was all like CNN, MSNBC, like all the time. Like I was super, and I mean, you knew me back then, right? So I was super.
I didn't want to, but
yeah. I mean, I would get into arguments with guys at work, like, yeah, Hillary would have been better, blah blah blah. Like,
I think you just because you like to argue,
yeah, right. But and I don't remember what the exact flip was, right? But I just know that there was at some point I realized that what the actual Constitution was saying and what it was projecting for the country was right. For us to have our freedom, the firearms go hand in hand with that. Without the firearms, there is no freedom for us. Without the fear, I'm going to have to restart the camera again.
Found it.
Got it.
Thought you fixed it.
Boop. No, I just have to constantly set it. Oh.
Your ass took the mic, just saying.
So, but without us being able to defend what we hold dear, without us to be able to defend our sovereignty, we have no constitutional rights. We have no First Amendment right.
No.
And none of the ones that precede the second one. None of the ones that go after. Like, that is vital to us being able to be who we are as Americans. And so at that point, I was like, okay, yep, I'm going to get guns. And I went and got several.
Yeah.
So
in a perfect world, yeah, well, guns are typically only used for war, right? Or, I mean, it's actually what we've evolved into adjusting, or not adjusting, but what's the term I'm looking for? Basically just show we have power. Like, again, when a police officer pulls you over, you know they have that on them, right?
Yeah.
So typically, like, a normal sane person would be like, I'm not trying to fuck up and get shot.
Right. Well, it's a fear of consequences, right?
Right.
So, and just like getting pulled over by a police officer, right? You get pulled over by a police officer for speeding or whatnot, right? You stop. Why do you stop? Well, because they ran your license plate. They know who you are, right? So you stop. They're like, okay, well, we're going to give you a ticket. Okay, there's authority there because at the end of the day, every law that is on the books is enforced by the point of a gun. If there's not the threat of a point of a gun, if there's not the threat of you going to jail, if there's not the threat of anything going, then it's just anarchy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So every law is enforced by the point of the gun. Right? Whether it be taxation, whether it be, hey, you can't cross the road at that area, whatever stupid law it may be. If it's not enforced, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Case in point, if you had more security at a school, just like what you would do, we have more security at a fucking game stadium, right?
Oh, yeah.
It has a shit ton of people. And
I can't go to a concert with a pocket knife.
yeah. Well, I can go to the school. So,
right.
Again, it's like if and this isn't just regarding schools in general, but somehow this has became like a freaking shit show for easy prey for people at schools. It's if you know that someone's going to be at that door with a gun, you're less likely going to want to take that venture into that school.
Yeah.
To go on with this fucking evil plan that's in your head. Granted, not saying it's not going to stop that person, right? People are going to find ways around it,
or they might just not care enough to they might just be ready to end their own life. So,
well, yeah, I mean,
hey, I'm going to go out with a bang, whatever. But like you said, the threat of the threat of repercussions is always going to be there if it's not in a gun-free zone, right? Which is why you don't see mass shootings outside. For the most part, outside of gun-free zones. Almost all of these, quote, mass shootings happen inside of these gun-free zones, where there's less likely to be any sort of repercussions for their actions.
And it sucks we have to be in this state of mind to feel comfortable going outside of our house that we have to not have to go, but we'd feel most comfortable going to places that have armed security or knowing that someone's there to protect us if something were to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I'm on, like, during the weekends and stuff like that, if I go to businesses and stuff like that, if they have, like, 30-06s and, or 30-07s posted and stuff like that, I generally don't want to go in them. Like, I'll go to other businesses that will let me carry my firearm inside with me. I'm more willing to give those businesses my business than I am to businesses. Like, I don't go to the mall. Like, just the fact that the mall, like the Woodlands Mall, is like, oh, and yeah, you can't carry your firearm in here. Like, this is a gun-free zone. I'm like, it doesn't make me want to go to the mall. I'm sorry. Like, I would much rather everybody be carrying. I might not even know, what the mental capacity of the people are. I would much rather everybody be carrying than nobody carrying. And that one crazy person be carrying at that time.
All you can do is run. If you try and hide somewhere It's like a 50-50 whether or not they're going to come find you and
Yeah.
end you right then and there.
Yeah. I told this story before, like when the HB 1940, whatever it was, the law that passed in Texas where we can carry our firearms with us without having a permit anymore. I told this story that I was at a gas station down there in Baytown, right? And it was right off of I-10. I was just getting gas real fast, and this real shady dude in a pickup truck, fucking tattoos all over him, like muscle shirt, like white trash as hell, right?
Well, look at myself. Shit,
white trash. No, no, white trash, like white trash. Like could have probably been KKK. He had a shaved head. Like
shit.
Probably could have been. He pulls up and he had an AR-15 in his middle seat of his truck, like mounted right there. And he pulls up, and I'm sitting there getting gas, and I'm like, I look over, kind of look back. I'm like, cool. Like, did not make me nervous one bit. Just the fact that I know that more than just the crazy people can carry, and more than just the crazy people are carrying, it makes me feel better that maybe crazy people won't be as inclined to actually do crazy things, right?
The thing with carrying though too, or having it on your person, so this gun that was in the vehicle was left unattended and exposed.
Well, it was unattended.
I mean, I wouldn't sugarcoat it. I mean, think about it. If he was at the pump, faced away from the vehicle,
yeah, it was.
Someone could come in
a holder.
Oh, it wasn't a holder?
Yeah, I mean, it was in a mount.
Oh, okay.
Like it was sitting in a mount, right? So it wasn't like just sitting on the side there, just like for whatever. Like it was in a mount that he looked like he had rigged up, and it was in a, for lack of a better word, it's a mount, right? So it was sitting in there. It was exposed. Everybody could see that. Hey, he's got a gun, right? But I didn't feel uncomfortable with the gun being there in that fashion, right? Does that make sense? Like I'm okay. Like I would say I'm more comfortable with people open carrying weapons than I am with people conceal carrying weapons. Now, I understand why you would want to conceal carry more than open carry. But I feel more comfortable around the people that are open carrying because I feel like they're not necessarily. God dang it! Hang on. Change the battery.
Pee break.
Intermission. But yeah. So anyway, like overall, I feel more comfortable with people opening carry their firearms.
Open carry or concealed?
Open carry. I feel more comfortable. Like
you can see it?
I respect and want people to conceal carry more. And I know those two contradict each other.
Yeah. Because you just made me go,
But like overall, I feel like if I can see it, it's not as much of a threat because I know what to expect. If I can't see it, that makes it a little bit more like, oh, well, what could happen, right? So it's that fine line of, not knowing that kind of always is in the back of your mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, with open carry, sometimes, man, I feel like it's more of a flex to have your prized possession just hanging out there. It makes a lot of people feel uncomfortable because you're just flashing around. I personally prefer concealed.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're open carry, cool. Like, I'll probably come shoot the shit with you and talk to you about what you got and whatnot. But it's like when it's open carry, I unfortunately fear the worst and feel like someone's going to want to come kick your ass to come get that from you.
Right. Which that's a good point. That's the reason why I conceal carry. Right. So I conceal carry all the time. The reason I don't open carry is because I don't want you to know what I have. Yeah. So if something were to happen, you wouldn't know. You know, you'd find out.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it. Someone's gonna walk into a store, or a robber walks into a bank, wherever the fuck you want to come, rob or whatever. Granted, there's probably a security guard, or fucking half-ass security guards.
$15 an hour.
Yeah, that's who you're gonna have to protect you. If they see your open carry, they're either gonna be less likely to follow through, or immediately take you out.
Yeah.
Because you're now a threat to them for completing their mission that they came to do.
Yeah.
Right? Concealed,
so it's like,
they're going to walk around you.
Kind of like labeling you as a target, kind of, almost in a way. Yeah.
Because, dude, like, if I'm concealed and you walk around me and you're about to freaking rob somebody, game on.
Yeah.
You're my new piece on the wall.
Yep. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's any, like, really set good solution for everything that's going on right now.
Man. Everyone's got their...
And, I think the main thing that people need to kind of come together on is the baselines of things. So, like, you see it with everything that's going on right now. People can't agree on just, like, the bare minimum.
Bare necessities.
Yeah, of stuff that's going on. Like, they can't agree on economic, baselines. They can't agree on, the, constitutional baselines. They can't agree on, foreign policy baselines. Everything is so divided right now that we have these two factions, basically, in the United States where either you're for this or you're against it. You're for it or you're against it. You're for it or you're against it. There's no middle ground anymore in anything that we do. And I think if people actually just took some time to look at the issues and actually put some thought into it, because everything is so reactive, right? Everybody is just like, oh, fly by the seat of your pants. Your emotions are running the show type of decision making, that nobody is actually sitting down and like, what is the main issue? And when we're talking about these school shootings, right, the main issue is not whether or not Americans should have the right to have guns, or whether or not Americans should have the right, or should not have the right to have guns, right? That's not the issue. Right, the issue is, how do we secure the schools? Right, the issue is, how do we secure the areas where these mass shootings are happening? That is the issue. So let's come together on the issues, right? And then we can talk about the minutia of, whether or not all Americans should have guns afterward. Let's come together on solutions rather than just pointing fingers at each other and saying, hey, this is the reason that this is happening.
It's a Spider-Man meme.
Let's stop saying, oh, well, if we just took guns away from Americans, then this wouldn't happen. And let's stop saying, oh, if you guys would just, buy more guns, then this wouldn't be happening. Let's come together on a solution. Let's actually get something done. Not just sit there and talk about, what we want to do for the next 20 years while this shit is still going on and happening.
Yeah, because
let's
the whole
do something.
The whole funding this is complete bullshit. Obviously, we'll just print money for whatever fucking reason they want to, that they think is worth spending the money on versus, protecting the kids at the school.
Right, we're going to send $40 billion to help secure Ukraine, right? But we can't spend $40 billion here to secure our schools for our kids, for our futures.
So what's your thoughts on the whole, because that's been brought up too, like, what if the teachers were starting to carry? It's a yes or no, right? For me, again, it's a 50-50. It depends on the person.
So here's the problem, again, and it goes back to the security, right? The security guards. Here's the problem with letting our teachers carry, is that teachers get paid shit.
For sure.
Right. For what they actually do, they get paid absolute pennies. Right? So there's no incentive. Like, I'm sure that you talk to teachers and, oh, they love their kids. But how many of those teachers do you actually think would stand in front of a bullet for their kids that they're teaching?
Especially when it comes to those little kids.
The percentage might be high. It might be. But at the same point, is that what we're paying them to do?
Yeah,
should it be their responsibility?
I've always had such a gripe about our wages for things. You as a society, we're so strict about, oh, you need a college degree, or you need to get a diploma in high school, you need a college degree, and you're paying these teachers jack shit, yet you're going to pay fucking millions of dollars for an athlete to perform and play a fucking sport, or to talk about fucking what's going on in sports on TV with what's his name, fucking Tom Brady getting paid a shit ton of money.
It's a monkey with a ball.
Flying fuck about that.
That's all it is. Monkeys with balls. That's all.
I don't fucking stand. If it's so important, pay the teachers, because not only that, at this point now, look at what they're having to fucking deal with. You're going to have teachers want to not even have this job anymore because it's going to be more of a higher risk to deal with, because work somewhere where they're not going to protect you.
It goes the same with teachers. It goes with our first responders, police officers, firefighters, EMS, all those public service jobs. You don't get paid anything for them.
No.
I mean, I went to school to be a firefighter. Finished my certification, everything like that. Could have gone into it. Saw how much they made, and I was like, I'm going to go in the oil field.
The benefits are good.
Right. The oil field is way better. I'm going to go in there.
Oh, shit. That's dangerous, too. Fuck.
Yeah.
We're relying on guys every day to make sure that they do their job at least half as decent and not blow us up.
Yeah. So, when it comes down to whether or not teachers should carry, again, I feel like that's asking a lot.
It is.
Now, whether or not they should be able to carry, absolutely. I feel like they should be able to. But I don't feel like it should be a job requirement for them to do it.
Do you feel the need for them to go through a training course, or just...
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I feel like anybody that actually carries a firearm should go through a training course.
Most definitely.
And I've always said that, like, if you're gonna utilize any of your constitutional rights, whether it be free speech, whether it be practicing religion, whether it be using a firearm, whatever it may be, I feel like you should have comprehensive knowledge of how and why you get that right? So if it's to use a firearm, I feel like you should know why you get to use that firearm. I feel like you should know how to use that firearm. Now, do I think that it should be a prerequisite for a ordinary civilian to be able to utilize their Second Amendment right? No. If you want to carry your gun and you haven't been through any training, I feel like you should still be able to do that. Do I advise it? No. But I feel like if you start splitting hairs on what your constitutional right and the prerequisite to being able to have that constitutional right is, I feel like it gets into some muddy area, right? But when it comes to a capacity for a job to be able to defend to a threshold, right, that we're requiring, I feel like there should be some training involved, right? So if we're going to expect our school teachers to carry and to be able to defend their classrooms, there should be training behind that to be able to do it the most effective way.
Yeah, and when I also say it's, if that was the case and our teachers were required to have a license, I'm not talking about just getting a license just to be able to have a firearm legally and to protect the kids. You need to be able to or you need to be training regularly. It's just like, bro, when you get a license, I mean, my son's already got his license. My oldest daughter's I put her in driving school. She's about to do it. They're like sending these kids out, right? And I feel like they're just fucking passing them.
Yeah.
You know, not saying that my son's not a bad driver. Actually, I mean, he's freaking pretty damn good. Picked up learning how to drive a stick pretty easy. But when you get a license on something, I feel like it's just very quick. You know, you can run the number, or, you know, you take your written test or computer test, and you get a little bit of hands-on experience, and then you're done. That's it, right? So you're kind of like fitting for yourself when you get on the road. I still don't feel comfortable, even for myself. When I finally got my license, I'm like, I'm not even ready, and they let me out on the road. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm a wild banshee, you know, is now considered, I mean, not now, but you can use a vehicle as a weapon, right? Like manslaughter, right. A deadly weapon, whatever, all that crap. If the teacher's going to be required to have a license for a gun and be required to protect these kids in our school, they need to do regular training.
Yeah.
I feel like they need to not just do the class one and done and that's it. No.
I feel like that should go along with their continuing education training.
Right.
Right. Let me ask you, how do you feel about your regular Joe walking down the street, no training, goes and gets a firearm and carrying? How do you feel about that?
I'm automatically just like not comfortable, man. And that's just how I am.
Okay, but there's a difference between not being comfortable and whether or not it should be enforced by law, right? Do you feel like people should have to take mandatory training in order to carry a gun? Because yes. that kind of goes into whether or not you believe in constitutional carry versus license carry.
No, hands down, I feel like no matter what, before you have a firearm, you need to have training.
Okay.
Hands-on training, no matter what.
Okay.
So, I just don't feel like you should
I disagree.
Cool.
Right. So I disagree. I feel like you should get training. I do not feel like it should be compelled by government to have to get that training in order to be able to exercise your constitutional right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. I get what you're saying now.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have to get up and...
I'm out of here. Yeah, so like I absolutely 100% think that people should get training. Like if you're going to... I mean, it's a huge responsibility to carry a firearm on your person out in public, right? It's a huge... I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to think about. Like just some of them would, you know, where your firearm is placed, you know, whether or not it's chambered, whether or not, you know, when you do fire a firearm, whether or not there's things behind the target that could also be affected. Like there's a lot of things you have to think about.
It's a lot of things that you have to think about before you ever even discharge that weapon. Yeah, because as soon as you discharge
it, so I mean, there's no going back from it, right? Once you pull that trigger, it's done. Right. So I feel like people should have proper training on stuff. But I do not feel like it is the government's responsibility to tell you that you have to have a certain thing in order to exercise a constitutional right that is afforded to you by the U.S. Constitution. Does that make sense?
So are you saying that as far as... You don't think the government should be forcing us to get a permit, or not a permit, but like a license to carry our firearm on us? That should be something that we should want to do.
Yes.
But then that also plays into the mental stability of a person, right?
I know. And I understand that argument behind it. But in order for me to be consistent with my beliefs, I have to say, okay, you got to separate. You got to be able to not only trust, but to trust that when people are given that trust, that they use it correctly, right? Otherwise, what you fall into is a very steep slope of government-compelled rights, right? So say with like this whole free speech thing, right? Say in order for us to get a Twitter account or to get a Facebook account, that we have to take a class on what is acceptable and what is not acceptable in order to what is acceptable and not acceptable to say online. Right? You see where I'm going with this?
Already, yeah.
Is like when you get into stuff that is a God-given right. The ability to be able to defend yourself is a God-given right. The ability to be able to speak freely is a God-given right. The ability to practice whatever religion you want, that's God-given. Right? These are inalienable rights. When you get into territories like that, anything that government then comes in and says, hey, this is a prerequisite to your right, it's no longer a right. It's the government saying that, hey, you can do this if we say you can. Right? So that's kind of where I fall on that. And I know that it opens the door to bad things and bad people to be able to exploit that, right? But I mean, that's going to happen regardless. Like, bad people are going to exploit things regardless of what you do. So you got to err on the side of what allows the most people to be able to exercise their freedoms and be able to live their lives the way that they want to, versus taking those freedoms away for the sake of, you know, say a small minority of things that might happen, you know? So that's where I land on that. And I know that's not super popular, but
Yeah, because it opens up the door for just so
much.
much.
Me being more kind of like, because I would say that I'm way more
Open-minded.
well, I'm more libertarian on things. Like, I want less control from the government. Like, I don't really fall super into the two-party system. Like, there's a lot of things that the Republicans do that I'm just like, oh, like, why are you doing that? Like, that's beyond the reach of where you should be. Like, in my mind, the less government that we have, the better. Like, if you go back to like the founding fathers, right? The way that they wanted the government to run is, they wanted you to be involved in the government and be able to vote and you know, have your voice heard, but you should never know if the government is voting on something. It should never be able to affect your life in a way that you would ever know. Right?
Yeah.
So if the government is voting on things that affect your life drastically, we got a problem. Like, that's no longer a democracy, right? That's freaking tyranny.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's top down tyranny. Like, we're going to enforce our rules on you, and then, you know, the way that you want to live is no longer being taken into account. So in my mind, the more government regulations, the more government rules, laws, and stuff that come into place, the worse it is for Americans as a whole. Whereas if we were to vote on the main things that really matter, you know, we would be in a much better spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crossed my mind a couple of times, slightly off subject when talking about this, but it just happened to pop back in my mind. Joe Biden being our president, and
He's doing great.
Yeah, right. Fucking amazing.
Can't even tell he's there. He's like a houseplant.
Yeah. I have to control my fucking throttle position just so I don't fucking drain my. I have a 4-cylinder. I have to freaking moderate my damn throttle position to make sure my gas just doesn't fucking dump.
Yeah.
Right? It's so annoying.
Yeah.
It's a forest drive. But when Trump was in office and that slogan was, "That's not my president. That's not my president," I legit feel like everyone feels like that right now, even for the people that voted for him. Because when he talks, what the fuck is even up there talking? Because it's the teleprompter telling him what to do.
Oh, well, I'll answer your question in two parts, because for the first thing, I want to address very clearly that when people were sitting there saying that Donald Trump's not my president, he's not my president, I gave the same response to those people that I would to anybody that says that Joe Biden's not your president, and that's yes, he is.
He is. Yeah.
Like absolutely, he is. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, he is in a position of authority over us. Now, whether or not that position of authority is
him
is warranted and or constitutional, put it lightly, right? That's up for debate. But as far as people saying, you know, I don't like this whole, you know, because the person that you don't like didn't get elected, saying, he's not my president. He's still your president. Like, we still have to deal with this for the next, you know, at the time when he got elected, 4 years. Now it's only 2 years. Thank God. We're almost done.
Almost.
It's going to be a long 2 years.
Has anybody tried to impeach him yet?
No.
What the fuck?
Right. That's a whole nother topic.
Jesus Christ. I can't believe I'd even.
We'll have you on again. We'll talk about it. But, you know, and then as far as his mental, you know, capacity as to where he's at, you know, so many people gave Trump a hard time when he would make up words, you know, Khalifi or Kafifi or whatever it was on Twitter or whatnot. But it's so interesting, and I don't see how other people on the other side don't see the similarities in what they were calling for Trump versus what they're saying about Joe Biden. But it's really interesting to see how the media spins the narrative. And I think that's been the most like eye-opening thing with all of this, including the school shooting and stuff like that, is how the media portrays current events, right?
Yeah,
whether it be the president, whether it be, you know, tragedies, whether it be Ukraine, whatever it be. The way that they portray it, right? You can see almost instantly now where their narrative is.
Right, just like the whole involving court, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Amber Turd.
Turd.
They're televising
she pooped
that
on a bed.
Yeah, they're televising that, but they're not doing anything on the Hillary Clinton's case.
They're not doing anything. Hillary Clinton. They didn't do the Ghislaine Maxwell trial or anything like that.
Let's just push this shit off. You know?
No. It's like I said. You can
Crazy.
if you actually sit down and look, you can very clearly see where the media's narrative is.
And everyone's like, oh, it's a distraction. No, it's somewhat a distraction, right? It's going to be the next thing to be talking about. But at the same time, it's what they want to televise, what they want to show you what's going on. That shit's so important that, they should be televising that, not fucking Johnny Depp's case.
Right.
Give a shit about that.
Let's be honest. Like, I like Johnny Depp as an actor.
Yeah,
like
he's fucking awesome.
Great actor. But I could give a shit about any of that's going on. Like, that's his personal life. Like, there's no reason for the public to be involved in any of that. Like, let's be honest. Like, what is the point? What are we getting out of it? Like, let's just say from both sides. Let's say Johnny Depp wins. What do we achieve? Maybe he goes back into the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. Maybe. If he's not blacklisted from everywhere already, like way he pretty much is. Mm. Okay, what if Amber Heard wins? Okay, he falls off into obscurity, and then somebody else comes and replaces him, right? There'll always be somebody else to replace in the entertainment industry, right? That's one of those industries that it's just a bulldozer, right? It's a steamroller. If you're not cut out to make it, somebody else will take your place, and then it'll just keep going. So what exactly do we have? What is our stakes in it that is so important that we need to know what happens? And I'll be honest, I've watched some of the trial and I've been interested, but it's all entertainment.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Same with me.
It's just entertainment. There's no point to actually sit there and watch. It does me no good, in my personal life. It does me no good politically. It does me no good whatsoever as to what the results of that trial is.
Yeah, I have to dig for information.
But yet, the stuff that is actually important, what the Senate's voting on or what they're doing, half that shit is just not televised.
Hush, hush.
You know, we don't know what's going on until, hey, this bill came out. You know, that's the stuff that's important that's going to affect you.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we in a culture right now that is so preoccupied with stuff that doesn't matter versus the stuff that does matter? And I think a lot of it has to do with the entertainment industry being able to manipulate what we want to know, knowing what the human psychology is behind what, you know, will spark our interests and stuff like that. So, you know, a lot of the stuff that you see in the news media nowadays, it's just shock.
Yeah.
It's shock entertainment is all it is. When you sit there and you actually dissect what they're actually telling you, half of it's bullshit. The other half of it's just to keep you there.
Yeah. It's keeping you in. It's going to keep you
Yep.
on it and make you come back and try and figure out
And I
what's
think, and I really hope, just from people that I've talked to, things that I've seen, I think people are starting to wake up to it.
some.
I think they are. You know, give it another 10 years, and I think everybody's going to be off of major news networks completely. I mean, you look at CNN, MSNBC, even Fox News. Fox News, I hardly watch them anymore either, just because it's so one-sided. Mm-hmm. Like, most of the stuff that I'll listen to, at least politically wise, is political commentaries. Mm-hmm. Because I know where the person stands, and I can get that perspective, and I look from both sides. You know, maybe this person is a little bit more left-leaning. Maybe this person is more right-leaning. My damn camera. That didn't do it.
Nope.
Wrong button. There it goes. But, you know, whichever side of the spectrum that I'm looking at least I'm knowing where that person's coming from, and I can take that now with that filter in mind and be able to determine what I think based off of that. So I think in the long run, and I really hope that this is the case, that the so-called like political or the news networks they're dying off. I don't think they're really going to be there in the next 10 years. I don't think they have the I mean, because you look at CNN, you look at MSNBC, they still try to market themselves as objective news.
Oh, hell no.
And everybody sees through that.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to sit there and have somebody purposely lie to them, to their face. I mean, it's one thing, like I said, if you're going out and you're searching, you're saying, hey, this person's right-leaning, I'm going to watch what they're saying. Hey, this person's left-leaning, I'm going to watch what they're saying. But you know where they stand. Whereas, you know, like these major news networks, I mean, I would say from like Fox News obviously is right-leaning and they're not shy about it. But these major news networks that try to market themselves as objective, down-the-middle news, they're just not. And you can tell by the stories that they cover, by the way that they cover them, and by the things that they say. And I think people are just, they're getting fed up with it. So,
yeah, quite a bit of people that I know, they don't even, like, I can't remember the last time I really sat down and watched any news on TV.
yeah.
Like, I
was talking about that a couple weeks ago with Jarvis. I was like, do you know anybody that watches like cable anymore? Like, I asked him, he was like, no, I don't.
It's the same thing though too. Like when you're on Facebook, they're only going to put what they want.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost like the same thing at that point. I feel like you really got to dig in to find the actual truth and not be so one-sided, one-minded when it comes to things that's going on. It's kind of like, unfortunately, racism shit that keeps popping up like all the time. That fucking kid that was going live on Facebook and went to that store
Yeah.
and killed all those people.
Yep.
I should have dug more on it before even speaking about it, but I figured I might as well just get it out just in case if you know more, because I haven't asked you about it either.
So I'll just tell you, for like the last 5-6 months, I've kind of like done a little detox from all the politics. Yeah. Because it got to a point where I was just like constantly thinking about it. It was making me angry constantly. And I was like, okay, I need to do a little detox from this. And so I've just started getting a little bit back into it and started reading more articles and actually getting back involved in it. But I do know who you're referencing. I don't remember the guy's name, but he posted on like social media that, all this stuff, that he was like super racist and he was going to go do this again. And it was just like stuff like that. There should be red flags that go up, and even if like no criminal action is taken, it should at least be investigated, right? Mm-hmm. But again, it's like, it's one of those things that, again, it's, if the government starts regulating, what we're allowed to say, what we're not allowed to say, and obviously we have laws in the books when it comes to free speech against calls to action and everything like that. But you have people that will try to conflate what they call hate speech, right? Where if you say something against a group of people, that it can be considered hate speech because you're speaking badly, and that can lead to violence. Even if your words never condone or call any violence to an action that is taken, right? So it becomes this like George Orwell 1984 like thought police type thing. And it's like, where do you draw the line? And speech is one of those things that's really hard to define, where you would draw a line on something like that, to where you would take criminal action against somebody for something they're saying. Right? Now, if the kid is going out, or somebody's going out and saying, hey, I just really want to go kill all these people and everything, like, that is considered a call to action. But if he's just out there saying, I hate these people because they're lazy, blah, 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 or whatever it may be, they don't look like me, you can't condemn that person for a crime. I would think, in my mind, that for something that they're just expressing, right? And it's a really fine line, and it's really hard to determine where that is. And so I err on the side of, again, more speech, me being more like libertarian, like, let the person say whatever they want, and let the social aspect of it kind of define those consequences. So if somebody goes out and says, oh, I hate Mexicans, or I hate black people, or whatnot, let society take care of them. I mean, society will have its own consequences on them. It doesn't need to be necessarily a criminal act to be able to go out and say these things, or to have a platform to say these things. Society will weed out the people that are obviously batshit crazy and that hate people for no reason, right? So again, like, there's so many things when it comes to our constitutional rights that are just like, if you start going down a path that starts regulating things, it's a very slippery slope that you can wind up in. So with me, like I said, I always err on the side of more freedoms for people, whether it be for good or bad, and just kind of let things go the way they are. Otherwise, it could end up way worse. We could end up in Nazi Germany, where we're putting people in internment camps for the way that they look. I
just feel like there's just no answer for almost anything nowadays because of people's mental state, and then that social media has such a big part on why people are the way they are, as far as being not too fond of a specific color or ethnicity, religion, or anything like that. Like, everyone just has such a strong opinion and just can't just won't be biased. Like they just can't understand that that's how they believe and that's how they think. And okay,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hate you for it.
But again, like, okay, let me ask you a question. How many like,
No.
how many like hardcore racists do you know?
Oh, I mean, used to.
Sure.
There's probably about three
Okay.
or four.
Out of how many people have you ever known?
Like really can't stand specific.
No, just like how many people have you known in general? A lot? A lot more than three. A lot. Have you
for
about
sure.
100? 200?
No, man, I would say because once I got wind of shit like that, I don't want to socialize with someone
Okay.
like that, you know.
So there were social consequences to...
Yeah, for sure. Like, that's where I draw the line, though. Right? Like, I know we're not supposed to be like, well, because you believe in that, we can't agree. But when it comes to not being cordial with someone because of who they are, you know, whether it be religion or color, like, I just can't associate myself with someone like that.
Excuse
I'm
me.
sorry I bore the
No,
shit.
you're fine. It's we're filming this like super late.
No joke.
The reason that I asked that is how much do you think is actually stratified or blown up just because it's social media?
A
A lot, right?
A lot, man.
Like, I feel like the amount of people that actually know real racists is real low, but the people that feel like they know racists online is real high.
Real high, yeah, for
Right.
sure.
And I feel like that's just one of those social media things that, you know, there's a lot of things that are lost in translation when putting pen to paper, to speak, right? So when you're typing something out, or when you're expressing yourself in a medium that is not with vocalized words, there's a lot of things that are missed, right? So if I were to send a text message, like say, hey, you're coming over today, right? And you text me and you're like, on my way. And I sent, oh, great. Right? That could be, but,
Oh, yeah.
Or what if I said, oh, great, in capitals, right? Like, oh, great, this guy's coming over. Or, oh, great, yay, this guy's coming. Like, there's a lot of, like, inflection. There's a lot of emotion that is lost on pen and pad, so to speak.
For sure.
Right? So things can be misstrewn, right?
Yeah, because
To meaning something that maybe you didn't intend, because you're not expressing it in a way that would normally be able to be expressed when you're actually talking to somebody.
Right, yeah, because that goes both ways, even with my wife and I. I mean, she'll text me something, I'm like,
You just say, huh?
She
Or,
wanna-
okay.
"Do you want to fight right now?"
Right.
This is where we're at.
Like, you want to go to dinner tonight? Okay. Well, what do you mean, okay? You mean you don't really want to go? No, I mean, okay. That sounds great. Like, there's so much stuff that's lost in translation.
There's okay, and then there's K. Sorry, I don't
is
like.
that is that what it is?
I don't
Is
like
that,
K. I
There's
fucking hate
like
K.
O, and then there's an okay.
Yeah. Okay. Or okay. Dot dot dot. What the fuck are the dots there? You purposely put those there for a reason.
Right, exactly. But you understand what I'm saying is that, you know, a lot of what you say online can be taken depending on how the person at the time that's reading it is feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
You
So
don't
if
know.
that person's in a really bad spot and you post something that, you know, might not be meant to be mean, all of a sudden they're taking it mean because they're in a mentally bad spot, right? Or they're dealing with some stuff right now that they're projecting onto your comment and stuff like that.
Right.
And I can't tell you how many times that's probably happened to people on my Facebook that they've been like, "Screw you! I'm never talking to you again." Like, okay, like I wasn't trying to be mean about something. I was giving you my point of view on things.
Right.
Right. But they take it as, oh, I'm trying to be offensive to them, or, you know, I'm totally disregarding the way that they feel or something like that. And I think with today's day and age, with the social media, with the online content and stuff like that, I think it's so hard. And I feel like we progress so fast into this era that we're in right now, that it didn't give it any time to develop, and it didn't give us any time to learn of how to handle it. It was kind of like being with your son, right? Like, it's kind of like being thrown into, hey, drive this car, right? Where you have an expectation of, oh, this is going to be an automatic or something like that, say. Mm-hmm. You have this expectation, right? That, oh, it's just, I'm going to put it in drive and go. Well, then there's all these other little nuances when he gets in the car because, oh, it's a manual.
Oh yeah, he clearly made that.
There's all these nuances, like, oh, now you have to the push in the clutch when you're going, and you have to shift at the right time. You have to wait until the RPMs get to a certain stage, otherwise you might stall the vehicle. Or like, there's all these nuances of this thing that we're in right now that we don't fully understand, and we're just been thrown into it. Like, here, drive. So, I don't know if there's any good solution for it, except that people just need to kind of take a step back and try not to get offended by anything, and just kind of try to understand other people's perspective without assuming anything, right?
Yeah, I have to remind myself regularly of that,
and it's hard. It's very hard.
Yeah, because you're caught up in the moment yourself too. At times, you're like overwhelmed. We all have stuff going on in our personal lives, and sometimes someone's not having a great day, but they're having a great day, and you're just not in it, and they could try and mess with you. It's like us at work. We all know each other very well, and like we like to attack each other every now and then. Talk a lot of shit, but it's like we know we get to a point to where, like, okay, I'm really fucking with him, and he's not having it. I need to back the fuck off, because
Heck, I had a point last week where I was like, okay, I'm not gonna mess with Nickerson anymore right now, because
I have
Nickerson was just done. He was just done for the week. He's like, I'm done.
It's either fucking I'm like, okay, shit at work.
I'm gonna see how I can help him at this point. Like, what can I do? You're welcome.
That's all I need most of the time is just fucking help.
But again, you just gotta go in with it with that open mind of, like, not wanting to
make it worse,
create harm, right? But also try to let that person know that, hey, I also have my own opinions about stuff. And it's okay that even if we have different opinions, it's okay. Hey, let's talk about it. Let's see if we can find some middle ground. And I feel like that's where we're lacking right now. And I feel like, if nothing else, that's what's going to drive this country into another civil war type of thing, is the fact that nobody wants to find any middle ground with each other anymore. It's all, hey, it needs to be this way. And, you have the right saying, hey, it needs to be this way on this. The left saying, hey, no, it needs to be this way on this. And nobody's willing to concede any ground to it.
And I feel like that's another reason probably why I don't have such a better understanding or knowledge as to maybe why guns aren't the reason for protection and whatnot. Because anyone that I talk to that is against it, I'm pretty much going to know pretty soon that they're not for guns, right? They're not going to want to talk to me anymore about anything or about situations like that. I would love to sit down with someone that can explain to me reasons why it'd be beneficial not to have it. And but like, I need a really good follow-up though as to how you're going to be able to succeed with that, because we have yet to this day been able to not succeed in order to establish power and dominance without a weapon.
Right.
To protect, at least.
Well, and the thing is, again, it's like, so you can try to talk to somebody, and I've listened to lots of people that are against guns as to the reasons why they don't, but I find their arguments lacking, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. It's okay to find their arguments lacking. It's okay to be like, hey, yeah, I don't agree with you. Right. But where do you go from there? Is there any middle ground that we can find? And I haven't explored that enough yet, that maybe we need to actually sit down and say, hey, is there a middle ground that we can find? Maybe put in a cop. The left is okay with cops. Kind of.
Don't give me a fucking run to cop either. For
kind of.
God's sakes.
They're kind of okay with cops, when they're not wanting to defund them. But they're okay with cops to an extent. Maybe put cops in the schools. Right? Somebody that's checking IDs.
Yeah, more like an actual
I'm talking about a legit police officer.
Yeah, but there's also like certain schools, like you can't even get onto the school property or parking lot to get into the school without checking in with security or whatever
Right.
beforehand.
So
like
how
ID
hard would
and
it
stuff
be?
like
How
that.
hard would it be to implement something like we do in the refineries, where we have a
Badge access. And
A
all that
badge
other stuff.
access.
Yeah, because otherwise, kids are just showing their card of ID card and then that's
right?
it.
I mean, how much would a ID access database cost?
Yeah. And then
I mean, a few $1,000 probably
and
at the most.
Unfortunately, like metal scanners.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck.
I mean, it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, but again, it's like, yeah, it sucks. But at the end of the fucking day, do you want your kid coming home?
Yeah.
Or do you want to risk having this stupid shit keep happening?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, what would you do in the situation of what recently happened with knowing what's going on in the school? The cops have it barricaded. Nothing's been done. You have your concealed on you. What are you doing?
Oh, I would be going in. So there's a really interesting movie that I actually want to see. The Daily Wire. I don't know if you're familiar with the Daily Wire. They put it out. What is it called? It has to do with school shootings, where a kid was in the room, in the school, and was able to stop it or something like that. But what is that movie called? Run, Fight, Hide, or something like that was what it was called. So it was like, the premise was that the kid had the ability to act while this school shooting was going on. And so she did. Right. And it was like all this dramatization of it. But yeah, that's one of the movies that I've been wanting to see really badly that I haven't seen. So maybe look into that. But I think it was one of those like ones that was like, oh, it's only a Daily Wire exclusive and I'm not a member. So I was like, do I want to pay $100 for the year to actually get this movie or whatnot? But they're starting to put out a lot more content, and I think it's a good thing, because they're kind of going down the road of one, to start produce entertainment that is not so leftist oriented as Hollywood is nowadays, with all the propaganda that they're trying to shove down our throats with every movie that comes out. So that might be something that I eventually invest in and just be like, okay, I'm gonna see, and if I do, I'll invite you over to watch it.
Oh yeah, I'm down.
So
I'm definitely down for that.
But I think we've been going for a while. You ready to call it quits for the night?
Yeah, I'm just gonna post up right here, bro. Don't be trying to come snuggle with me.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I appreciate you coming on and talking with me. Again, what's your Instagram tag? It's
bro.
Okay, well, I'll let them look it up while I close it out. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate everybody. Again, fucking 50% of y'all that are watching right now are not subscribed. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below. Hit the like button. Share the video with everybody you know. And we will see you on the next one.